Welcome to Wife in Bloom, the podcast where faith, femininity, and fierce love collide. I'm Ashley, a Christian wife and mom, but mostly a woman on a mission to help you break free from shame, insecurity, and limiting beliefs, so you can fully embrace the confident, capable, and joy-filled wife that God created you to be. Here, we talk about real intimacy, renewed mindsets, and growing stronger in marriage and in Christ. If you're ready to bloom where you're planted, love with purpose, and finally feel at home in your body, your role, and your calling, you're in the right place. Let's bloom together. Welcome back to Wife in Bloom. I'm Ashley, and I am so glad that you are here. Today, we are going to talk about the biggest thing going on in the world right now. Charlie Kirk's murder and the awakening that it has caused. We're going to talk about what in the world is going on in the world, and not in the bad way, not in a bad way. We're not going to focus on the ugly that is out there today. We are going to focus on the beauty in the world. What has come out of one of the most divisive, publicized murders in history. What that looks like as Christians, what his beautiful wife has shown us through this tragedy. And then I'm going to wrap it up by telling you guys how we, my husband and I, were called to take a huge risk just 2 weeks ago that will forever change the trajectory of our lives. So buckle up and let's get started, coffee and all. By the way, it is fully falled over here, y'all. And as much as I love the fall aesthetically wise, I'm not here for it. It is chilly and I need summertime back already. And also I can't find one of my favorite fall earrings and I'm really sad about that this morning. But I digress. Back to the show. So I really need to tell you guys something that I've been sensing for a while now, and I've expressed it to some people in my life. I don't know if you guys have noticed it too, but something is happening spiritually around the world. And I do not just mean since the headlines about Charlie Kirk's assassination. I mean long before that, something is happening. I've been saying it to my husband for months, feeling it like in my spirit. There's an awakening. People are hungrier than I've seen in years. People are starting to ask questions about God again. And conversations are happening that weren't happening just a year ago. I've seen it in small ways, like worship songs popping up on playlists that aren't even necessarily Christian and trending on social media. I've seen people praying openly on various different social media platforms, especially people who used to stay silent about their faith. As I'm sure several of you have heard about church attendance, people that thought that they would never walk into a sanctuary are suddenly sitting in the back row, tears streaming down their face. It's like this hum in the background of the world, like heaven is knocking louder and louder on people's hearts. Something is stirring. And then Charlie Kirk was murdered, and that hum turned into a roar like I had never, ever seen. Suddenly, the conversations about God and prayer and faith are everywhere. My feeds are flooded with people proclaiming the Lord. And I know, the algorithm is programmed to show specific content to people who would like it. But some of this has got to be trickling into the feeds of unbelievers and reviving lukewarm Christians. It's got to be. We're seeing it unfold across the world. Headlines are talking about faith. Like large news outlets are covering the prayer and the revival that's been happening. I have never seen anything like it in my lifetime. And it makes me pause and ask, God, why are you doing this? Because it feels like you're waking up your people for something bigger. Now let's talk about Charlie Kirk, because as Christians, I think we have to. There is so much that we can learn from that man and his life. Whatever you thought about his politics, one thing is undeniable. Charlie was bold in his faith. He was unashamed of the gospel. He didn't water it down to make people comfortable. He didn't back down because critics were loud. He was willing to lose followers, to lose his reputation, and even ultimately his life, because he believed in truth, That level of boldness is rare, and it should make us, especially as Christians, pause. Because if he's willing to lose everything for the sake of truth, and he spoke about it numerous times, he knew his life was on the line. What am I willing to lose? What are you willing to lose? But here's the thing that gripped my heart the most. Erika Kirk, his wife. Let's just stop and look at this woman for a moment. She lost her husband in the most public, devastating way imaginable, and yet, in the days since, what we've seen from Erika is not despair. It's not bitterness, not rage. What shines from her is trust. She stood with grace. She has spoken and declared that the Lord is still in control, that Charlie's mission will continue, and that faith is still worth it. I need you to catch this. That kind of strength in public reveals something so private. It reveals the kind of marriage that she had. You do not just stand up that strong if you've been unloved at home. You do not radiate peace if your husband didn't pour into you. Erika's composure tells us everything about the man that Charlie was, the husband that he was. She was a well-loved, well-cherished wife. And this is the fruit of that in the darkest valley. Her strength has been astounding. And it's a reminder to us that as wives, as women of faith, that our first mission is home base. It's our marriages, our families, it's the quiet spaces that no one else sees but God. We may not all be in the public eye like Erika, but storms are going to come for us too. And when they do, will our homes be fortified? Will our faith be strong enough to stand? Because that is our calling, to build up our homes, to love our husbands, to raise our children, to guard our atmosphere of our household as warriors for Christ. Erika's strength reminded me of something so important. We as wives are the first line of defense in our homes. The atmosphere that we create matters so much more than we realize. We're the ones who decide if our homes are filled with fear and chaos or peace and faith. And it starts with the little choices, like guarding the gates of our house, what comes in through the TV, through our phones, through our words, because all of it leaves a mark. Are we allowing constant negativity, comparison, and distraction? Oh, the distractions to set the tone. Or are we choosing to fill our space with truth and hope? One of the simplest ways that I have found to shift the atmosphere in our home is through worship music. I put it on while I'm cooking, folding laundry. Literally, honestly, it's on all the time. And it is amazing how it has changed the spirit of our whole house and my entire life, honestly. Suddenly, my stress feels lighter. My words to my kids are softer. My husband noticed to such an extent that he also now basically in his genre still listens to only Christian music. Worship invites the presence of God into our ordinary, and it reminds every single person under our roof that this is a house where the Lord is honored. And then those songs are the ones that are playing over and over in our head all day long. Seriously, it was one of the best choices that we ever made as a family, was to mostly stop listening to secular music. And then there's prayer. Covering your family in prayer doesn't have to be long and fancy. We've talked about that in other podcasts. Whispering a blessing over your children as they walk out the door. Pray peace over your husband while he sleeps, because these simple, unseen moments are acts of warfare in the world that we are facing. They are boldness in action. And revival, it's not going to begin in the stadiums and the churches. We're seeing those things, and that's wonderful, but it begins in the living room, where women like you and me decide that as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And here's the part that gets me, because the irony is wild. Just 2 weeks ago, right here on Wife in Bloom, I told you guys that God had been pressing on me to live more boldly in my faith, to not just talk about my faith when it's convenient, but to live it loudly, to step into the scary spaces and to share the gospel in ways that would stretch me. And wouldn't you know it, God wasted no time in testing that conviction, because he asked me to do something terrifying. something brave, something that does not make sense in my world. I was called to resign from my job. Yep, I walked away from stability, the good steady paycheck, the security that propped me up for years. And let me be real with you, we were not prepared. We are not prepared. We cannot just absorb that loss of that income like it's no big deal. There's no plan B waiting it behind the scenes. But here's the miracle. We obeyed and peace flowed in. That's the thing about obedience. It doesn't always bring comfort, but it does bring peace. I knew it deep down so deeply that I could not keep giving my family the leftovers of me. I couldn't keep pouring into Wife and Bloom on fumes. And I could not align my daily actions with God's calling while I was staying chained to something that He asked me to release, something that was no longer good for me. So I took the leap. And now my focus is clear. My personal growth and my relationship with Christ comes first. Directly after that, my husband and my kids. And then Wife and Bloom, the ministry that God has entrusted me with, a way to bless, a way to share the gospel, a way to help women walk in freedom and boldness in their marriages and lives. That gets so much more of me. And let me tell you, I've never felt more at peace. The finances don't make sense. The logistics don't make sense. We don't have a life raft or a floaty. But God's calling isn't dependent on my spreadsheets. He provides where He guides. And He has always, always, always provided for us. Eventually, I'll tell some stories of ways that He has already provided through this process before I'm even actually done working. Because God is a funny guy, I promise. 2 Timothy 1:7 is pretty applicable here. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind. So I quit my job to chase my dreams and fulfill my calling, which is super fun for you guys because you're about to get to know me really well because I am going to be full-time content creating it. All the cringe, all the crazy, all to show the hope that I am called to, the life that's possible. But what is our most basic calling as wives and women of God? This is where it comes home for us, ladies, because boldness isn't just for the Charlies and the Erikas. Boldness is for you and me right where we are, wherever that is. Maybe boldness doesn't look like standing on a stage or having a podcast and creating a brand. Maybe it's just praying out loud with your kids, even when you feel awkward. Maybe it's inviting your neighbor to church. Goodness! From experience, maybe it's just talking to your neighbor. Maybe that's the first step, is talking to your neighbor and putting a smile on your face. Maybe it looks like finally forgiving your husband instead of holding on to bitterness. Maybe it looks like stepping out of a job or starting a ministry or saying yes in any area that terrifies you. Whatever it looks like, one thing is certain. Boldness is costly. It always costs something. For Charlie, it cost his life. For Erika, it cost her husband. For me, it just cost a steady job and a safe paycheck. For you, it might cost comfort, pride, reputation, security. But the thing is that it's always worth it. Because when we obey boldly, God shows up boldly. And the world takes notice. And please, please, please do not miss this. Our first line of boldness is at home. That's why I'm going home. I've been a boss babe for too long, letting every distraction take my energy. And I'm still going to be a boss babe. God created fire in me for good reason. But it's been applied wrong for years. And I need to go home and be bold and focused there. Because when you pray over your children, you're fighting battles that they don't see. And when you bless your husband, you are strengthening his spirit and creating that strength outside of your walls. When you're guarding the atmosphere of your home, you're creating a refuge in a world that is shaking, and that is the warrior work that matters more than you know. I personally could not be more excited to take big risks and to do the warrior work as a mom and as the wife that I was created for. So let's tie this all together. The world is shaking, right? But it is also awakening. God is stirring hearts. Charlie Kirk showed us what boldness looks like in life, and Erika Kirk is showing us what boldness looks like in grief. And I pray that I'm showing you what boldness looks like in obedience, because even when it feels risky, as Christian women, we are called to live boldly and put our trust fully in Christ. Sometimes that looks like walking away from a job, and sometimes it looks like standing in faith when you've lost your husband. Sometimes it's simply opening your Bible and praying out loud in your living room, and it all matters. All of it. So here's my challenge to you for this week. Ask God what boldness looks like in your life, and then take one step toward it. Just one. It might feel risky. It might feel small. But heaven will back you up, I promise, because we were born for these moments, to rise, to stand, and to bloom in what God created for us. And as we do, I believe that this is going to be something that is continued to be read about on the news and on our socials. It'll be something that starts right here in our homes, in our marriages, and in our hearts. So thank you for spending this time with me today. And if this episode encouraged you in any way, share it with a friend who needs to be reminded that God is still moving, especially in the storm. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And definitely leave me a review and a like. Until next time, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus and keep blooming. Have a wonderful week. Thanks for spending this time with me today, friend. If this episode spoke to you, don't just keep it to yourself. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, and share it with a friend who's ready to bloom too. We're just getting started, and the best is yet to come. Until next time, keep growing, keep blooming, and remember, you are loved, you are chosen, and you are not alone.